Hello, so today we're going to talk about unit rate. So you should be following along in your unit rate interactive notes here. We're going to do a couple problems together, go over some definitions and formulas, and then you will be doing it on your own. So we're looking at some definitions here. So first of all, when you want to know the rate or when you're asked about the rate of something, that is just a ratio that compares by division the amount of one quantity changes as another quantity changes. So you're basically calculating how much something is changing versus what is changing in something else. I know that's going to sound a little weird, but we're going to explain it a little further below. So specifically, a unit rate is it's a type of rate that compares the change in one quantity to a one unit change in another. So this is as one we're calculating how much something is changing compared to one unit measurement of the other variable. So some examples would be like miles per hour, miles per gallon, money made per hour, score per game. So all of these have this word per, because that's like how many miles can you go in 1 hour? How many miles can you go with 1 gallon? How much money do you make in 1 hour? How many points do you score per game, like one in one game? So per just means one quantity. So that's that one. You're looking at how much something is changing per one unit. So then we break this up a little bit further into independent and dependent variables. So an independent variable sounds just like what it is. It's independent. It's a variable that's often written as x. So when we have your xy tables, it's usually the x variable. It's does not depend on another. So the independent, think of it as it doesn't need anybody, it doesn't need anything. This is the independent, it's on its own, it doesn't depend on anything. The dependent is the opposite, and that's a variable that's written as y. So that's in the y, the output part of your table. And that value depends on another. So the dependent variable depends on the independent variable. So without the independent, there is no dependent, basically. So the formulas for rate, and well, more specifically unit rate, is a ratio that compares by division the amount of one quantity changes, another quantity changes. So just like that definition from above, from the previous slide, a unit rate is a rate that compares the change of one quantity to a one unit change in another quantity. So basically, all we're going to end up doing is divide the dependent variable by the independent variable. So this is the formula. Unit rate equals the y over the x. So y divided by x, or dependent divided by independent. And don't forget your units, because most of the word problems we're going to be dealing with requires units like miles per hour, miles per gallon, like those are all units. All right, so we're going to do the first example problem together, and then you're going to do the others on your own. So in this problem, it says, in 18 minutes, John runs 3 miles. How many minutes does he run per mile? So the idea is the first thing we need to figure out is which unit is the dependent, which is the independent. So we know our units happen to be minutes is one of them, and miles is the other. So we need to decide which one is which. So does the minutes depend on how many miles he run, or does the miles he run depends on the minutes? Typically, it's the minutes will depend on how many miles he runs. The amount of minutes depends on however many miles. So if he's running 3 miles, it's 80 minutes. If he's running like 10 miles, that will change how many minutes he's run. So the minutes depend on the miles. So our dependent variable is minutes. And then our independent, what the dependent depends on is the miles. So when we go back into our formula, we're going to insert these values. So we know our dependent goes in our numerator and our independent goes in the denominator. So minutes was our dependent, so 18 minutes divided by 3 miles. So we're looking for the minutes per mile. And if you want to look at this, this is looking like 18 minutes per 3 miles. So when we do this division, 18 divided by 3 is 6. And we can't just leave 6 alone. So we have to add our units. So this is 6, and they said minutes per mile. So minutes per mile. So make sure when they're asking for the unit rate, it's always going to be, your units are always going to be 2 units combined to say like minutes per mile, miles per gallon, miles per hour. Those are all, so those are all unit rates and how you write those units. So for this instance, it's 6 minutes per mile. So if you need help or you would like to rewatch this video, please feel free to do so. You're going to use the remaining time to do problems 2, 3, 4, and then 5. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher. Thank you.